So one of the interesting things about a warehouse first approach is that instead of leveraging multiple SaaS tools, you can actually feed marketing with the analytics use cases we talked about, but you can also feed data science. So can you just quickly talk us through what types of data products are you delivering to marketing and product teams, and then also the data science team?
Yeah, so I think like the product is BigQuery data really, but we then have managed to kind of overlay that with some really great reports for marketing and product around intraday conversion rate reporting, which they've never had before. So being able to kind of see that hourly view has been really great. And then I think the other one that I've already mentioned is that attribution reporting, which is always available on time, and actually then will alert to any kind of anomalies that we've seen. But speaking of anomalies, I think the more interesting one is really where data science is starting to feed into this. And data science is now using this data that's practically, 15 minutes to us is real time, and is using the data and consuming it for multiple different uses. One of them is we are consuming that kind of that data for anomaly detection. We have our own anomaly detection system called Helios, and we actually feed it all of the BigQuery data in different kind of cuts. So that it starts learning, and it actually alerts us on Slack if there's anything that's off. And that's been really awesome, because prior to that, we could only really use the anomaly detection for anything that was somewhat fresh data, and it wasn't really to do with the users on the site. It may have been site errors and things like that, because we use different services for that, but not actually conversion rate, which I think is it's our bread and butter. That's what we use to measure. And then I think the two other points for data science that have been really awesome was now we have our A/B testing platform is fully in-house now, and because we have this regular fresh data, we can actually refresh that data hourly, and we have some very complex models behind how we figure out if an A/B test is winning or not, because we run lots of different ones. But now we can actually understand them way faster than we could before, and we have that visibility for the entire company of all of the tests that we're running across the entire business, and seeing that update on a regular interval. I think the last one that I didn't put down there is the kind of, we're building now a smart sort order, and that smart sort order is all based off the RudderStack data that happens on a 15-minute interval. So like we're now building out a model that is going to try and beat the current sort order that we have, by taking in all the impression data, the product click data, the product detail data that we feed RudderStack, and then start actually applying a different sort on an hourly basis to try and understand what's the most optimal sort order for finding a holiday.
Very cool. That's so cool. I love nerding out on stuff like that. A quick question for you on the A/B testing infrastructure. What were the main drivers of bringing that inside of the company and sort of owning it, as opposed to using a third party? Because bringing a lot of things in-house are non-trivial, but you start to get into some pretty gutsy, statistical significance modeling, etc., all that with A/B testing infrastructure.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. I think that there were multiple different reasons. One of them, I think, going back to that SaaS model, was cost. We, with the sheer size that we're at, we were talking in the $500,000 cost a year for some of the A/B testing services out there that were quoting for our use. But that wasn't just one of them. I think in addition to that, what we wanted to control, the way that we were doing our A/B test, but we also wanted it to feed it with our own data, and you can't really do that with external A/B testing systems. And I think one of my pet peeves is I don't really trust external A/B testing systems most of the time, so I'd rather have myself and a data scientist spend some time looking at the numbers and having the control of that. But when you start thinking about the next steps of A/B testing, you start talking about what you call multi-arm bandit testing, which is smart multivariate testing that will change the traffic allocation depending on how well the test is performing. But you can only really do that if you own the A/B testing framework, because you want to use your own models to understand how tests are doing better. And that's when it starts getting very interesting. And that was, you know, one of our core parts of the business is running A/B tests, because that's how we test and learn when we're not user researching. And that was just one of the key things where we felt we can build this in-house, we can probably build it better, and we can always upgrade it with our own pieces, much like, you know, the warehouse first model. And we felt like it was a clear one that we would do in-house.
Sure. I think it's a really interesting example of how complexity of sort of both the process and requirements, but also the technology change when you get to scale, right? SaaS tools are great up until a certain point. But when the requirements reach a certain scale and level of complexity, having ownership is a big deal. That's something we actually talk about a lot, where when companies aren't at that scale yet, it actually is still helpful to make the investment of unifying your data in the warehouse now, so that you have that data to build models in the future.
Yeah.